We are live now. Bismillah.
Bismillah. Alhamdulillah. والصلاة والسلام الأتمان الأكملان على محمد رسول الله سيد الأولين والآخرين وإمام الأنبياء والمرسلين والشافع المشفع يوم الدين وعلى آله الطيبين وأزواجه الطاهرات أمهات المؤمنين وصحابته الغر الميامين ومن استنى بسنته واهتدى بهديه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، عقيل، أنا بودي لو حتى لو أقولها جملة جملة، أنا أتعمد قول هذه المقدمة لأبين أهمية يعني السنة وأهمية حب الصحابة واحترام الصحابة وأمهات المؤمنين، فأود لو أنه تترجم، ليس مقدمة يعني عادية، فإذا أحببت أعيدها جملة جملة حتى تفهم.
بسم الله. نعم، هذا يكون جيد.
طيب، الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله.
Indeed, all praise is due to Allah, and may peace and salutations be upon the Messenger, Muhammad.
الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله نبينا محمد سيد الأولين والآخرين.
The leader of the first and the leader of the last.
وإمام الأنبياء والمرسلين.
The Imam, the leader of the Anbiya, of the prophets and the messengers.
والشافع المشفع يوم الدين.
And the one who gives the intercession on the day of recompense.
وعلى آله الطيبين.
And upon his good family.
وأصحابه وأزواجه الطاهرات أمهات المؤمنين.
And his pure wives, the mothers of the believers.
وأصحابه الغر الميامين.
And his companions, الغر الميامين شيخنا.
الغر يعني الذين هم على النقاء وعلى الصفاء، والميامين يعني أهل اليمن، أهل البركة وأهل الذكر الحسن.
And upon his companions, those who were pure and the good people, the people of the right hand.
ومن استنى بسنتهم واهتدى بهديهم إلى يوم الدين.
And those who take his example as a way until the day of resurrection.
أما بعد، فحياكم الله أيها الإخوة والأخوات.
To proceed, welcome, O my brothers and sisters.
إلى هذه الليلة التي نسأل الله عز وجل أن يجعلها ليلة مباركة ولقاء مليئا بالمنفعة.
To this sitting on this night, this gathering, that I ask Allah to make blessed and to make beneficial for us.
حديثنا الليلة هو عن هذا الأمر الذي عنونا له بأنه 8 ركعات في اليوم تبقي الإنسان بعيدا عن النار.
So tonight's lecture is of this topic, the topic being that the 8 units of prayer, the 8 rak'at that are performed daily, they are a means of saving someone from the fire or distancing the individual from the fire.
عندنا في الحديث في حديث الصلوات الرواتب من صلى في اليوم والليلة لله 12 ركعة بنى الله له بيتا في الجنة.
And we have the hadith, the narration of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, that explains the virtue of the regular optional prayers, the sunnah prayers as they are known, where the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, whosoever prays 12 units of prayer daily in the day and the night, then Allah will build for them a house in paradise.
والحديث هو عند النسائي من حديث أم حبيبة رملة بنت أبي سفيان عليها وعلى أبيها وأخيها رضوان الله.
And this narration has been reported by Imam An-Nasa'i on the authority of Habiba, whose name was Ramla bint Abi Sufyan. May Allah be pleased with her and may He be pleased with her brother.
وهي زوج النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. قالت من صلى في اليوم والليلة 12 ركعة سوى المكتوبة بني له بيت في الجنة 4 قبل الظهر 4 قبل الظهر وركعتين بعدها 2 قبل العصر 2 بعد المغرب 2 قبل الفجر. هذا في هذا الحديث وإن كان في سنده ضعف.
And she was the wife of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him. And she said that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, whosoever prays in the day and the night 12 units of prayer in addition to the obligatory prayers. And then she went on to say 4 before Dhuhr and 2 after Dhuhr, and then 2 before Asr, and then 2 وشيخنا 2 بعد المغرب و2 بعد العشاء.
بعد العصر و2 بعد 2 قبل العصر و2 بعد المغرب و2 بعد الفجر أو قبل الفجر عفوا. هذا الذي ذكر في هذا الحديث لكن الحديث ضعيف.
طيب بارك الله فيكم. So 4 before Dhuhr, 2 after Dhuhr, 2 before Asr, 2 after Maghrib, and 2 before Fajr. This has been mentioned in this specific narration. However, this specific narration is a weak narration. It's not authentic.
وأما الصحيح فهو ما رواه غير واحد من أهل السنن عن عائشة رضي الله عنها أو لا عن أم حبيبة أيضا نعم عن أم حبيبة وصححه الألباني كما في مشكاة المصابيح. قال عن أم حبيبة رضي الله عنها قال رسول الله قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من صلى في يوم وليلة 12 ركعة بني له بيت في الجنة 4 قبل الظهر وركعتين بعدها وركعتين بعد المغرب وركعتين بعد العشاء وركعتين قبل الفجر. نعم.
And what's authentic is that which has been reported or collected by more than one of the collectors of the books of Sunan. May Allah have mercy upon them, on the authority of Habiba again. May Allah be pleased with her. And it was a narration that was authenticated by Shaykh al-Albani, may Allah be pleased with him, in his book Mishkat al-Masabih, where the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, whosoever prays on a daily basis, whosoever prays in a day 12 units of prayer other than the obligatory units of prayer, then Allah will build for them a house in paradise. And then these units of prayer are 4 before Dhuhr, and then 2 after Dhuhr, 2 after Maghrib, 2 after Isha, and 2 before Fajr.
ويؤيد هذا الحديث ما رواه ابن ماجه في السنن عن عائشة رضي الله عنها قالت من ثابر أي واظب وحافظ على 12 ركعة من السنة يعني نافلة غير الواجب غير الفريضة بني له بيت في الجنة 4 قبل الظهر وركعتين بعد الظهر وركعتين بعد المغرب وركعتين بعد العشاء وركعتين قبل الفجر.
And this meaning is strengthened and supported by the narration that's been collected by the Imam Ibn Majah on the authority of Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, whosoever is persistent upon 12 units of prayer, 12 rak'ah, from other than the obligatory units of prayer, then Allah will build for them a house in paradise. And these additional units of prayer are 4 before Dhuhr, and then 2 after Dhuhr, 2 after Maghrib, 2 after Isha, and 2 before Fajr.
هذه الأحاديث فيها أن من حافظ على هذه 12 ركعة بني له بيت في الجنة.
And within these narrations that we've mentioned, they tell us that we learn from them that whosoever is persistent upon these 12 units of prayer, then Allah will build for them a house in paradise.
لكن جاءنا حديثان أيضا عن أم حبيبة مما يرويه أخوها عنبسة ابن أبي سفيان أنها رضي الله عنها قالت قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم من صلى قبل الظهر 4 وبعدها 4 حرمه الله على النار.
However, we see there is another hadith also from on the authority of the brother of Habiba, Ambasa ibn Abi Sufyan, that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, whosoever prays 4 units of prayer before Dhuhr and 4 units of prayer after Dhuhr, they will be saved from the fire.
وهذا الحديث أخرجه أحمد والترمذي وأبو داود والنسائي وابن ماجه.
And this hadith was collected by Imam Ahmad, Imam al-Tirmidhi, Imam Abu Dawood, Imam al-Nasa'i, and Imam Ibn Majah.
وهذا ما يعبر عنه علماء الحديث بقولهم رواه الخمسة، فإذا قالوا رواه الخمسة فهم أحمد وأبو داود والترمذي والنسائي وابن ماجه.
And these 5 collectors of a hadith, they are the 5 who the scholars of hadith refer to when they say that the hadith or the narration, it was reported by the 5, i.e. that what they mean by this is it was reported by Ahmad, Imam al-Tirmidhi, Imam Abu Dawood, Imam al-Nasa'i, and Imam Ibn Majah. May Allah be pleased with them all.
والحديث الآخر رواه النسائي والترمذي فقط، وهو أيضا من حديث أم حبيبة رضي الله تعالى عنها قالت قال الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم من عفوا أنا وهمت. الأول الذي ذكرناه من صلى 4 قبل الظهر و4 بعدها لم تمسه النار. الذي قلناه ماذا؟ حرمه الله على النار أو لم تمسه.
I'm from the same.
عفوا شيخنا عندنا تشويش على الصوت.
ما أدري الآن كيف، أنا سمعت تشويش ظننته من عندكم.
لا ليس من عندي.
طيب الآن كيف؟
Abdul Hakim, there was a bit of sound. Can you just keep an eye on that? There's a bit of interference. If you could just keep an eye on that. And
Yeah, I'm watching it.
Okay.
طيب الآن كيف؟
نعم تفضلوا شيخنا.
نعم أقول نعيدها، نقول الحديث عندنا حديثان. الحديث الأول عن أم حبيبة رضي الله عنها أن الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من صلى 4 قبل الظهر و4 بعدها لم تمسه النار، وهذا عند النسائي والترمذي.
So we're just going over what we've already taken. So we have 2 narrations. The first of these narrations is on the authority of Habiba, may Allah be pleased with her, where the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, whosoever prays 4 units of prayer before Dhuhr and 4 afterwards, the fire will not touch them. And this was reported by Imam al-Tirmidhi and Imam al-Nasa'i.
والحديث الآخر هو الذي يرويه الخمسة.
How can it be reasonable for someone who sold?
Abdul Hakim, I don't know what's going on, man. There's some interference. I don't know if there's معذرة شيخنا.
لا بس يحصل هذا من أنا اليوم كان عندي درس قبل هذا ما استطعنا أن نعمله، يقطع كثير الإنترنت وضعيف.
الله المستعان. نعم تفضلوا شيخنا بسم الله.
نعم أقول الحديث الآخر رواه الخمسة أحمد وأبو داود والترمذي والنسائي وابن ماجه من حديث أم حبيبة رضي الله عنها.
هذه wonderful achieving security.
Yeah, someone's got their phone on. It's interference from someone's phone. So, Sheikh, you've got three. Okay, let me.
Yeah, as a participant is 3 times. Are you muting the others?
Yeah, I'm going to mute the others now.
هناك مشاركون دخلوا ها؟
Okay, I'll mute the others.
لا شيخنا بل أنتم موجود 5 مرات في قائمة المشتركين.
كيف هذا؟
أي نعم.
Continue
والله
now.
شيخنا لا أدري.
نعم أقول الحديث الآخر أخرجه الخمسة أحمد وأبو داود والترمذي والنسائي من حديث أم حبيبة رضي الله عنها أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من حافظ على 4 ركعات قبل الظهر و4 بعدها حرمه الله على النار.
And the second narration is the narration that was reported by the 5 that we have mentioned: Imam Ahmad, Imam al-Tirmidhi, Abu Dawood, al-Nasa'i, and Ibn Majah. So they are the 5. It was reported by them on the authority of Habiba, may Allah be pleased with her, where the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, whosoever persists or is continuous and takes care over praying 4 units of prayer before Dhuhr and 4 units of prayer after Dhuhr, Allah makes the fire impermissible for that person.
نعم هنا نلاحظ الفرق بين الحديثين. هناك في الحديث الأول من صلى وفي الحديث الثاني من حافظ. إذن هذه 4 ركعات ليست يؤديها يصليها مرة واحدة بل يحافظ على أدائها كل يوم.
So now we can look at the differences between these 2 narrations. In the first narration that we mentioned, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, whosoever prays. And then in the second narration, he said, whosoever takes care of these 4 before Dhuhr and these 4 after Dhuhr. So what we learn and we can derive from this is that it's not the case that if an individual were to pray these 4 before Dhuhr and the 4 after Dhuhr, if they do it once, then they attain this reward of the fire being impermissible for them. Rather, it's that they have to take care and preserve this as a habit.
وأيضا نلاحظ في الحديثين أن في الحديث الأول قال صلى الله عليه وسلم لم تمسه النار، وفي الحديث الثاني حرمه الله على النار. فهذا فيه أنه لن يلج النار وعند عبوره على الصراط لا تمسه النار ولا تؤذيه لأن الله حرمه عليها.
And then we see the wording of the first hadith, of the first narration, is that the fire will not touch that individual. And then in the second is that Allah will make the fire impermissible for that person. So this means that the fire will not come close to them. So for example, in the hereafter, when they are walking over the bridge that's over the fire, they will not be touched by the fire at all, and they'll be protected from it.
ولعل سائلا يسأل فيقول ماذا عن آثامه وذنوبه التي ارتكبها؟ نقول بمحافظته على هذه الأربع فإن الله عز وجل يوفقه ويسهل له التوبة من جميع الذنوب والمعاصي قبل موته، حتى يأتي يوم القيامة وهو نقيا، ويبقى له ثواب هذه الركعات الثمان التي حافظ عليها، فلا تمسه النار ويكون قد حرم على النار.
Subhanallah. So it may be that someone can question then, how is it that this can be the case when surely the individual, they will have sins and they will have errors? So our Shaykh, may Allah preserve him, he said that it's likely that the case is that when they take care over performing these additional prayers, that Allah will make repentance easy for that person, and he will make goodness easy. He will facilitate it for that person to the point at which when they come on the day of reckoning and they are reckoned in front of Allah, that they will do so and they will be pure. So through these additional prayers, Allah will give them the success that they will be pure when they meet Him.
ولعلنا يعني نختم. أنا ذكرت أن اللقاء الليلة سيكون قصيرا في المحاضرة، طويلا إن شاء الله في الأسئلة، لأن الإخوة يحتاجون إلى مزيد من الوقت ليطرحوا أسئلتهم.
So I think we'll stop here for tonight's lecture, because today we have shortened the duration of the lecture in order to allow sufficient time or additional time for questions, as the brothers, or it's been requested that we take questions and we do so for a longer period. جزاكم الله خيرا وبارك فيكم. May Allah reward our Sheikh.
Okay, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
عليكم السلام.
We have a question here already saying that Assalamu alaikum, when praying with an imam at home, and my mum walks in front of me, is my salat void and should it be redone?
فهمت السؤال؟
أي نعم. But Abdul Hakim, when praying at home, and I am the imam, or?
Yeah, I think it means that he's the imam.
Okay, طيب. نعم. شيخنا بارك الله فيكم. عندما أصلي في البيت.
Afwan, okay. Just in case, because it says when praying with an imam at home, so maybe as an imam should be, or as someone who's following. So just in case, it answer the both. One who's leading and one who's following.
بارك الله فيك. شيخنا أحسن الله عز وجل إليكم. عندما أصلي في البيت، ويعني هناك حالتين أو حالتان، إما أن أكون إماما وإما أكون من المؤتمنين، وتمر بي أمي، هل تبطل صلاتي بهذا المرور؟
أما إذا كان إماما أو منفردا يصلي وحده، فمرت أمه أو أحد من الناس من أمامه، فإن يعني من أمامه بينه وبين السترة، إن كان يصلي إلى سترة أو إلى الجدار، فإن هذا لا شك أنه يقطع الصلاة كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. وأما إذا مروا من وراء السترة، من بعد السترة، فإن هذا لا يؤثر، حتى لو كانت أمه أو أخته أو زوجته أو ابنته حائضا ومرت من وراء السترة من بعدها، ليس بينه وبينها، ليس بينه وبين السترة، وإنما من وراء السترة، فإن هذا لا يؤثر. وأما إذا كان يصلي مأموما ومرت أمه أو أي امرأة من أمام المأموم لا من أمام الإمام، فإن هذا لا يؤثر، لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال سترة الإمام سترة لمن خلفه.
أحسن الله إليكم. So if they are praying at home and they are the imam, they are leading the prayer, or they're praying by themselves outside of a congregation, and then if the mother if the mother then passes between them and between the sutra. Now the sutra is the object towards which they're praying, like the wall. If they pass between the praying individual and the wall, then there is no doubt that the prayer has been cut, because the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, has informed us that this is the case. As for if, for example, they're praying towards the solid object like the wall, but the mother or the wife or his sister or daughter, if they pass behind the object that they're praying towards, if they pass behind the wall, even if they're on their menses, then this has no impact upon the prayer and the prayer is correct. As for if they are praying and they are being led in the congregation, and the person, the mother, passes in front of them, but this is in front of the person praying in congregation, not the imam. If they pass in front of those praying in congregation, this has no impact upon the prayer, because the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said that when one of you prays, then the sutra, the blocking object of the imam, it acts as a blocking object for those praying behind the imam. Barakallahu feekum, Shaykhana.
Fiikum barakallah.
Jazakallah. I've got a question here. When praying and you forget how many prayers you've done, what should you do?
ماذا نفعل شيخنا بارك الله فيكم إذا نسينا كم صلينا في أثناء الصلاة؟
هذا أجاب عنه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم، قال إذا صلى أحدكم يعني أشكل عليه صلى ثلاثا أو أربعا، يبني على الأقل، لأن الأقل دائما يقين، الأقل هو يقين، فيبني على الأقل ثم يسجد سجدتين للسهو قبل السلام، بعد التشهد وقبل السلام.
This is something that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he has informed us about. And he told us that if one of you is praying and while they're in their prayer, they do not know or cannot recollect whether they have prayed 3 or 4 units of prayer, then they should build upon the least number. So if they're between 3 and 4, then they would pray 3. Because when they build upon their prayer with the smallest number as a basis, what they have done, they've based their judgment upon certainty. And then after doing this, they should do the tashahhud, and they should prostrate 2 more times, 2 extra times after the taslim. After saying assalamu alaikum, then they should prostrate twice.
ومثل هذا في الطواف مثلا، لو أشكل عليه طاف 7 أو 6 وهكذا في السعي، لكن السعي سهل، السعي معروف لأن من الصفا إلى المروة شوط، لكن في الطواف قد يشكل بعض الأحيان، ينسى الإنسان طاف 6 أم 7، فيبني على الأقل ويأتي بشوط آخر، لكن لا يوجد شيء يعمله مثل سجود السهو. وهكذا في الصيام، لو كان يقضي أياما من رمضان ومثلا عليه 10 أيام، فصام عدد من الأيام ثم توقف مدة ثم عاود الصيام لكن نسي، صام 5 أيام أو 4 أيام، نقول له ابني على الأقل، لأن هذا أحوط، فيبني على الأقل 4 أيام ثم يكمل 6 أيام وليس عليه شيء. وهكذا في سائر العبادات. مثلا في رمي الجمرات أشكل عليه، نسي رمي 7 أم رمى 6، فنقول له الأصل أنك رميت 6، اليقين أنك رميت 6 والسابعة هي الشك فيها، فاطرح الشك وخذ باليقين، ابني على الأقل وزد واحدة ويكفيك ذلك، وهكذا في كل شك.
Jazakumullah khair wa baraka feekum. So this is the case. Also when the individual is performing the tawaf, which is the circumcision of the Kaaba. So when the people are going around the Kaaba and they are not sure whether they have gone around 6 times or 7, and also with the sa'i, with the walking between Safa and Marwa. But
لا صفا والمروة قلنا هذا لا يدخل فيه.
But this isn't this is easier. This is easier because you can work out how many. But the circumvention of the Kaaba, if the individual isn't sure whether they've done it 6 or they've done it 7, what they should do is they should build upon what the lesser number, because the lesser number is where there is certainty. And also, but then once they do this, they will complete up to the required number. But there is no sajda, or there is no action that they must do as an expiation, as was the case in the prayer. And this is similar in other acts of worship. So, for example, when if the individual has to make up days fasting in Ramadan, let's say, for example, they've got 10 days to make up, and then they fast a number of days in a block, and then after that they stop for a while. And then when they want to resume to make up the fasts, they're not sure whether they fasted 5 or whether they fasted 4. What they should do is they should build upon the lesser number. And this is because this is being extra careful as relates to the acts of worship. So what they do is they build upon that which is certain. And this is the case in a general sense, that when we're not certain of something, we build upon certainty, and we refer doubts to that which is certain. And also the Sheikh mentioned that when the individual is pelting the pillars in the Hajj, they're throwing the stones, and they're unsure of how many they have thrown, they will do the same. They'll build upon certainty so as to be absolutely sure that they have performed the act of worship correctly.
Okay, Jazakallah.
Jazakumullah khair.
I've got a question here. So I'm getting them on my mobile as well. I've got a question here. Is it permissible for a woman or a child to lead you in prayer?
السؤال شيخنا: هل يجوز للمرأة أن تؤم الصلاة أو الصبي أن يؤم الصلاة؟
أما إذا كانت تؤم نساء مثلها فلا حرج، هي تؤمهم. ولكن إذا تؤم بذكور فلا يجوز للمرأة أن تؤم الذكور ولو كان ولدها الصغير، فولدها يؤم بها كما فعلت عائشة رضي الله عنها، كانت تجعل غلاما عمره 7 سنين يصلي بهن، لأن المرأة لا تؤم الذكور.
So if the female were to be leading in prayer other females like her, then there is no harm in doing so. However, if there are males in the congregation, it's not permissible for her to do so. And if it's the case that she has her son there, then she cannot lead the son or the small child in the prayer. And this is due to the action, or what Aisha, the mother of the believers, may Allah be pleased with her, did when there was a small child, a male boy that was there who was 7. She put him as the imam, and he led the prayer for the congregation of women.
Okay, I've just got another question from YouTube. Hold on. If staying up at night studying and praying, making one sleep heavy and missing the recommended 4 rak'ah after Zuhur prayer, which one should be given preference? I think she means, or they mean, that if they're praying and they somehow miss the Dhuhr prayer and it's coming to Asr, which one should be given preference? Should they pray the Dhuhr then Asr, or pray the Asr then Dhuhr? I think that's what the question is. If she can, or if they can confirm that that's right, then fine. But I'm sure that's what they're asking.
Yeah, I think it needs a bit of clarification. It sounds like to me that I thought you were going to say that they missed the Fajr prayer. But if it's talking about Dhuhr, then what they're saying, they stay awake all night.
Yeah, if they've been studying and praying and they've been studying and they slept heavy and missed the recommended 4 rak'ah after Zuhr prayer, which one should be given preference? Or the recommended 4 rak'ah after Zuhr prayer, I think the Sunnah prayers after Zuhr prayer, which one should be given preference?
How could they have missed the 4 after Dhuhr? They must, if they caught Dhuhr, then they would have caught the time for that.
I'll read it again. If staying up at night, studying and praying, making one sleep heavy, and they missed the recommended 4 rak'ah after Zuhr prayer, which one should be given preference?
Maybe if that questioner can send the question again a bit clearer. I think that's a bit confused.
Well,
or do you want me to ask the Sheikh like that?
After Sheikh, maybe he can understand it better than both of us.
اوكي شيخنا بارك الله فيكم. انا حقيقة السؤال فيه غموض بالنسبة لي، لكن سأترجم فيما أراه. ما نصيحتكم أو ما قولكم في من يجتهد في الليلة يدرس ويصلي إلى آخره، ولكن بعد ذلك الاجتهاد ينام ثقيلا حتى يفوته 4 ركعات التي بعد الظهر؟
كيف يعني؟ إذا فاته حتى الفجر يعني والظهر والأربعة التي قبله، كيف يقول يفوته الأربعة التي بعد الظهر؟ طيب وماذا عن الظهر والأربعة التي قبل الظهر؟ وماذا عن الفجر والركعتين قبل الفجر؟
هذا هو شيخنا. So the Sheikh is asking, so from the question it seems as though they've missed the Fajr prayer and they've missed the Dhuhr prayer and they've missed the Sunnah that comes before Dhuhr. So I think it's best that the questioner gets back to Abdul Hakim and rephrases it so it's a bit more precise.
But if they did miss the prayer, for example, they say they're studying and they've missed the Dhuhr and it's come to Asr, which should be given preference? Asr and then Dhuhr, or pray your Dhuhr and then your Asr?
Okay.
That's not I'm just paraphrasing, but they can clarify, but I'm just throwing that question out as well.
طيب شيخنا، إذا نام الشخص عن صلاة الظهر واستيقظ في وقت العصر، أيهما يقدم، الظهر أو العصر؟
إن كان يصلي في المسجد، يعني سمع النداء وذهب إلى المسجد فوجدهم يصلون العصر، يدخل معهم بنية العصر ثم يقضي صلاة الظهر بعد ذلك قضاء، لأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من نام عن صلاة أو نسيها فليصليها حين يذكرها، لا كفارة لا إلا ذلك، فهو قضاء وهو معذور. وأما إذا يصلي في البيت كحال الناس اليوم عندكم مثلا، أو كان يعني المسجد بعيدا عنه وهو لا يصلي في المسجد إلا إذا خرج أو شيء، المهم أنه إذا كان يصلي في البيت فإنه يصلي الظهر أولا ثم يصلي العصر، يصلي الظهر بسننها القبلية والبعدية، كما أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان في سفر فأمر بلالا أن يبقى مستيقظا حتى يوقظهم للفجر، فنام بلال فما يقظهم إلا حر الشمس، فأمر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بلالا أن يؤذن، ثم أمر الناس أن يعني يتوضأوا ويصلوا ركعتين راتبة الفجر القبلية، ثم أمر بلالا فأقام ثم صلى بالناس. فإذا فاتته الصلاة وخرج وقتها، فإن كان يصلي مع الإمام والصلاة حاضرة الآن والناس يصلون العصر، فإنه يدخل معهم بنية العصر، يدخل معهم بنية العصر ثم يقضي الظهر. نعم. وأما إذا كان في البيت، وأما إذا كان في البيت وحده أو كان في المسجد لكن بقي وقت على الإقامة فإنه يصلي الظهر ثم يدخل مع الجماعة يصلي العصر.
أحسن الله عليكم.
So, one second, Akhil. Sheikh, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Nah.
Are you available to come on camera? Because when you're talking, it's good that we can see you because Tom is just there and at least people can know that he's waiting for you to finish.
Now?
Yeah, that's fine. Jazakallah. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, Akhil.
No problem. So if the individual has slept and not prayed dhuhr, and then they go to the masjid and they find the people in the masjid praying asr, then they should enter the prayer with the congregation and they should pray asr. And then afterwards they should pray dhuhr with addition to the sunnah prayers that go around dhuhr. And this is because and then they should pray dhuhr after asr. This is because the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, whosoever is asleep or falls asleep over a prayer and they miss a prayer due to sleep, then they should pray it when they are awake and when they remember it. And there is no expiation for this other than making the prayer up. So they should pray asr with the congregation, and then thereafter they should pray dhuhr as a catch-up. However, if they are in their home or the masjid is very far from them, for example, or it's as the situation is now where most people are praying at home, they should pray the Salat al-Dhuhr first, and then they should pray Asr. And when they pray Salat al-Dhuhr, they should pray it with the Sunnah prayers either side of it. And this is because the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, when he was upon a journey, he ordered, and they went and they stopped somewhere to camp. He ordered Bilal, may Allah have mercy upon him, to wake the people up for the Fajr prayer. But Bilal, may Allah be pleased with him, he fell asleep and he was in a deep sleep. So they woke up late. And then after the dawn had broken and they had missed the correct time for the Fajr prayer, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, ordered the people to make wudu. And they made wudu, and then he told them to pray the two units of prayer that come before Fajr. And they did this, and then after this, they all prayed in congregation. So if the individual, to sum up, if the individual is praying at home and by themselves, then they should pray Dhuhr first, and then they should pray Asr. If they go to the masjid and they find the people praying Asr, they should enter Salat al-Asr with the congregation, and they should pray Asr first, and then they should make up Dhuhr thereafter. However, if they get to the masjid and they find that there's a bit of time before Salat al-Asr gets going and is started, then they should pray Dhuhr by themselves, and then they should pray Asr with the congregation.
Okay, mashallah, jazakallah. Okay, I've just got clarity up on the question. They said that the 4 rakah sunnah after the obligatory is what they meant. So if staying up at night studying and praying, making one sleep heavy and miss the recommended rakah after Zuhur prayer, which is the sunnah one, after the obligatory one, then which one should be given preference? That was more or less the what she meant, or what they meant.
Abdul Hakim, it still doesn't make sense. It means that they've fallen asleep and they've missed Fajr and they've missed Dhuhr. But the question's about the 4 rakat after Dhuhr.
Well, they didn't say Fajr, so they probably prayed Fajr and then went back to sleep and missed Dhuhr and the Sunnah Dhuhr. So I think they were asking for what is preference in regards to which one should I pray first then, which is obviously
Which one was
the obligatory and then the Sunnah if you're going to do it. Well, I think that's what they meant. They didn't say Fajr. They just said they went.
So they prayed Fajr,
yeah.
but they've been up all night, and then they
went
fall asleep in a deep sleep, and then they miss Dhuhr.
Dhuhr. And they missed Dhuhr, and they're asking, they missed Dhuhr, is recommended for Fajr and Dhuhr prayers, which one should be given preference? Well, I think, obviously the obligatory comes before the Sunnah. So I think it's just to highlight that, really.
But how can they pray? But they have to pray Dhuhr before praying the 4 rakat that come after Dhuhr, right?
Okay, no, they didn't miss any obligatory. So
They didn't miss any obligatory.
So therefore, you just pray the Sunnah when you can, really. Okay, you just pray the Sunnah when you can. If you haven't missed the obligatory, you fell asleep, then you just pray. You pray the Sunnah when possible, inshallah. But it's just highly recommended to pray after the obligatory. There's another question which I'll try and squeeze in. Is out of extreme tiredness, is it possible or is it permissible to shorten the prayers?
Okay, بارك الله فيك. شيخنا هل يجوز القصر بعذر التعب الشديد؟
قصر لا يجوز، لكن يجوز الجمع إذا كان فعلا يعني متعب ويخشى أنه ينام مثلا، عاد قبل يعني الظهر بقليل وكان متعب جدا، فأراد أن يصلي الظهر ثم ينام ويخشى أن لا يستيقظ إلا بعد دخول المغرب، فعندئذ نقول له نعم، اجمع إليها العصر لكن كاملة، 4 ركعات للظهر 4 ركعات للعصر. أما أن يقصر وهو من أجل التعب، لا، القصر لا يكون إلا من أجل السفر فقط، القصر لا يكون إلا للسفر.
بارك الله فيكم. No, it's not permissible to shorten the prayers due to being extremely tired. However, if the individual is extremely tired and, for example, they're about to pray Dhuhr and they think that and afterwards they're going to sleep and they think that they might not wake up until Maghrib, then it's permissible for them to combine the prayers. So they would pray at that time Dhuhr and Asr, but they would pray them completely, i.e. they would pray them each as 4 units and not shorten them. This is because the shortening of the prayers is only due to traveling and going on a journey.
Okay. Let me try and read this out question clearly. It's 2 questions in one, 2 in 1 questions, basically. How far to travel to pray Sunnah? Okay. How far do you have to be to shorten the prayers from your home, and do you pray the Sunnah prayers while you're traveling?
شيخنا بارك الله فيكم، ما مسيرة السفر للقصر؟ وكذلك في السفر هل نصلي جميع الرواتب؟
أما أحكام السفر فقد تكلم فيها العلماء كثيرا وبأقوال متباينة مختلفة، لكن أرجح الأقوال عندي ما ذكره الشيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية رحمه الله تعالى، بأن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لم يحد للسفر مسافة ولا زمنا، وإنما ترك للعرف ما يتعارف عليه الناس. قد يتعارف الناس على أن هذه المسافة بين البلدتين هي سفر، وقد يكون عند آخرين أنها ليست سفر، يعني أقصد في بلد آخر لا يعتبرون مثل هذه المسافة سفر. فهذا يرجع إلى ما يتعارف عليه أهل تلك المنطقة. هذا من جانب أو آخر قالوا السفر هو ما يتأهب له الإنسان أهبته بأن يحمل متاعا يدل أنه مسافر، لا أنه ذاهب يعني قضاء غرض وراجع. فإذا كان متعارف بين الناس أن هذا سفر يودع بعضهم بعضا له، وإذا رجع الإنسان استقبلوه واحتفوا به كأنه يعني كما لو أنه جاء من بلد آخر، فإن هذا هو السفر. يعني مثلا أسمع كثيرا الإخوة مثلا في لندن يقولون أنه يستعملون لفظة ترافل، هذه التي بالترجمة تعني سفر، أنه مثلا ينتقل من جنوب لندن إلى شمال لندن فيقول يسافر، وهذا ليس سفرا، لأن هذا لا يستعد له باستعداد السفر، وليس متعارف على أنه سفر بمعنى كأنه انتقل من لندن إلى برمنغهام مثلا. فهذه يعني الأمور تركها الشارع للعرف، لعرف الناس في ذلك الزمن وفي تلك المنطقة. ولكن يبقى بعض الناس يقول إذن السفر بالطائرة مثلا من لندن إلى مثلا إلى جلاسكو أو إلى دنبرا مثلا، وهو بالسيارة يأخذ 5 ساعات، بالطائرة ممكن يأخذ ساعة أو ساعة وشيء، فيقول إذن هذا ليس سفر. نقول لا، لأن يبقى المسافة التي بين البلدان تعتبر. على كل حال مرد الأمر إلى العرف. الشارع لم يحدد مسافة ولا زمن، ما حدد 4 أيام 3 أيام. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بقي في مكة 19 يوما يصلي بالناس إماما ويقصر صلاته ويقول أتموا صلاتكم يا أهل مكة إنا قوم سفر، يعني مسافرون. في فتح مكة بقي 19 يوما يقصر الصلاة حتى رجع إلى المدينة. فليس هناك يعني شيء محدد، لا من حيث المسافة ولا من حيث الزمن. وإن كان بعض الفقهاء يقول المسافة 83 كيلومتر قياسا على مسيرة يوم وليلة، ويقولون الأيام 4 أيام، لكن هذا ليس عليه دليل، وإنما هو استنتاج من نصوص لا علاقة لها بأحكام السفر نفسها. وعلى كل حال هو مرد هذه الأمور كما قال الشيخ الإسلام ابن تيمية إلى العرف. هذا بالنسبة للسؤال الأول. السؤال الثاني، هل نصلي الرواتب في السفر؟ النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم لم يكن يصلي من الرواتب في السفر إلا الوتر، وكان يحافظ على الوتر، عفوا لم يكن يصلي من الرواتب إلا ركعتي الفجر، وكان يحافظ في السفر على الوتر وركعتي الفجر. هذا لا يتركه أبدا، لا يترك الوتر وركعتي الفجر، كما قالت عائشة رضي الله عنها لا في سفر ولا في حضر، ما كان يترك الوتر وركعتي الفجر. أما رواتب الظهر والمغرب والعشاء فلم يكن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يصليها في السفر. نعم.
بارك الله فيكم شيخنا، قد ما شاء الله تفاصيل جميلة جدا، حفظكم الله. So the scholars of Islam they have spoke in detail about this issue and about the length or the distance of a journey whereby it's considered to be a journey where the individual can shorten the prayer, for example. And the strongest of opinions is that of Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, where he said that the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he never defined a specific definition of what traveling is. So he didn't define it by a time period, i.e. a travel of a certain number of days, nor did he define a distance for the traveling to be considered traveling. However, what he did and what the legislator, Allah the Most High, did was he left this to the customs of the people. And if the people consider this journey to be traveling, then it's considered to be traveling and the rules will be applicable to the individual. So, for example, and this is something that is specific to the customs of a people. So it might be that in one country or in one place that there is a specific journey of such and such a number of miles or kilometers that is considered to be a journey, and it would be legitimate to shorten the prayer, but in another country or another place, the very same distance, it would not be considered a journey, and it wouldn't be considered okay to shorten the prayers. So the matter returns and is referred to the customs of the people who are there in that place. Yes, and there are others who are of the opinion that whatever is a journey is that which the individual prepares themselves for. So a journey would be a sort of a traveling or preparing yourself, where you would take your bags, you would take your things, and you would bid farewell to people, and upon your return you would be greeted, and you'll be welcomed back. So these are signs that some of the scholars have said indicate that this is a journey. So, for example, in London, the Sheikh said in English we use the word travel, and it can be said in English that you travel from North to South London. But this traveling isn't a journey. It's not considered, so it wouldn't be considered legitimate, for example, to shorten the prayers. It's not the same as, for example, if an individual were to travel from London to Birmingham, which would be considered a journey, or it would be considered going out. So this is something, the definition of what a journey is, and when it's legitimate to start shortening the prayers, it's something that has been left, or that the legislator, Allah the Most High, He has left to the customs of the people of that time and of that place. And as for, yes, and another example, it is if an individual were in London and they were to take the plane to Glasgow. So this would be going from London all the way to Glasgow in Scotland. And if they were to drive, it would take hours. But in the plane, it would take an hour. It wouldn't be correct for someone to say that because this only takes an hour, it's not considered a journey. Rather, it would be considered a journey due to the distance that they have traveled. So the Sheikh, the legislator, Allah the Most High, he has not given a definition. And we see that when the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, when he prayed in Mecca, he did so when he was visiting Mecca. He prayed there for 19 days. And over this period, he shortened his prayer. And he said to the people who were praying behind him, those who were resident in Mecca, complete your prayers, for indeed we are a people who are traveling and who are on a journey. And he did that until the point at which he went back to Medina. So he did this for the entire 19 days. And there are some of the scholars of jurisprudence, of fiqh, who have said that the prayer or the distance is a distance of 33 kilometers. And they also define it as being for 4 days, the period that one is considered legitimately a traveler. And they have indications, not exactly explicit evidences from the texts to do this. And these implications that they have, or they gain these insights from texts that aren't actually pertinent to traveling. So the opinion that we have put forward is the strongest, and Allah knows best. As for the second matter, and that's the matter of the Sunan al-Rawatib, the regular Sunnah prayers, then the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, when he was upon a journey, he would shorten his prayer, and he would be consistent in praying the Sunnah of Fajr, and he would be consistent in praying the Witr, the odd prayer, as this was said by Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her. As for the regular Sunnah prayers of Dhuhr, Maghrib and Isha, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, he never used to pray those when he was on a journey.
He never used to pray the sunnah of those when he was on a journey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the sunnah prayers that went around those prayers, Dhuhr, Maghrib, Isha, he wouldn't pray, but he would pray and he would be persistent over the Sunnah of Fajr and the Witr prayer.
Okay, Jazakallah. I got a question here. Well, there's two. But I'll answer. I'll ask it as one because it's sort of like similar. Um,
Mhm.
when woman praying, when a sister's praying, do wear socks? Does she have to cover the same, like wear socks and as in as if as if she's in company, or can she wear normal clothes? That's one. And two, can you pray with your shoes on? I think the second one's from a man in praying with your shoes on. But either, I think Allah knows best. But I think the answer would be the same whether man or woman. Allah knows best. But that's the two.
Yeah. So the first one, does she have to cover her feet when she prays? Yeah.
If they're praying alone, if she's praying alone, does she still have to cover everywhere? And two,
Okay.
if you have to, can you pray with your shoes on? And can you pray with your shoes on?
Yeah, that was the
And
second one, right?
can you wipe over your shoes? I mean, you like if you have wudu and then you break it and you got your shoes on, can you, when you make wudu again, can you wipe over your shoes, or do you have to take them off and wash your feet again?
اوكي شيخنا لدينا سؤالان حفظكم الله. الأول أخت تسأل هل عليها أن تغطي أو أن تستر نفسها وهي تصلي وحدها، وهل هذا يتضمن غطاء قدميها؟ والسؤال الثاني هو هل يصح الصلاة في النعال، وبالتالي هل يصح المسح على النعلين في الوضوء؟
طيب نبدأ من الأخير. السؤال الثالث، هل يمسح على النعلين؟ نعم، إذا أدخلهما في طهارة تامة يمسح، لكن ما مسح عليه صلى فيه. لا يصح أن يمسح على النعلين ثم يأتي إلى المسجد فيخلع النعلين ويدخل ويصلي بدون النعلين. لا، هذا لا يصح. ما دام أنه مسح على النعلين فإنه يصلي بالنعلين. وأما إذا مسح على الجوربين جاز أن يخلع النعلين ويدخل المسجد ويصلي بالجوربين. هذا بالنسبة للسؤال الأخير الذي هو على المسح، لكن الشرط أن يكون أدخل قدميه في طهارة تامة.
Barakallahu feekum. So as relates to the third question, is it permissible to wipe over the shoes and pray? Then the Sheikh said, yes, it is. But there must be certain conditions that are fulfilled in order for someone to do so. And they are that the individual puts the shoes on while being in a state of complete purity. And that then once they put the shoes on and they wipe over them, that they pray wearing those shoes. So they cannot wipe over the shoes and then go to the masjid and take their shoes off and then pray. Because they've wiped over the shoes, they must pray with the shoes on. As for if they wipe over the socks, then they can wipe over the socks, wear their shoes, go to the masjid, take their shoes off, have their socks still on, and then they can legitimately pray. This is correct. So yes, it's permissible and it can be done, but the condition is that they wear them with in a state of complete purity.
Okay, mashallah.
أما السؤال الثاني، هل يصح أن يصلي بالنعلين؟ نقول هذه السنة. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال صلوا في نعالكم خالفوا اليهود والنصارى، فمن السنة أن يصلي في النعلين. وإذا خشي أن يكون علق فيهما أذى قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فإذا شك فيهما فلينظر يعني أسفل النعل، فإن وجد يعني شيئا فإنه يحكه في التراب وهذا يكفي لطهارته، فإن لم يجد شيئا فيصلي فيها ولا حرج. لأن بعض الناس يقول يمكن أني دعست على شيء. طيب هل بقي هذا الشيء؟ تنظر، إذا بقي نعم تزيل هذا الشيء. أما إذا لم يبقى ما في شيء، ما في أثر، صلي في النعلين. من السنة أن يصلي في النعل.
And then the second question in regards to praying with the shoes on, then our Sheikh, may Allah preserve him, said yes, Rather, it's from the Sunnah, the example of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, to do so, where he ordered the people and he said, pray in your shoes and be different from the Yahud and the Nasara. So be distinguished from them because they do not. And if one of you fears some sort of dirt or impurity on their shoe, i.e. the bottom part of the shoe, then they should look and see if it's there. And if it is there, then they should rub it upon the earth and that will clean it. And if they do not find any dirt or any impurity there, then they should pray. And then the individual, they might say perhaps there is something there or perhaps there isn't, but they should look to see if there is any effect of it being there. And if there is no effect or if there is no sign of any impurity being there, then yes, they should pray in the shoes. Rather, to do so is from the Sunnah.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, Sheikh. So just a clarification, if anything, for me. So if you, say, for example, you make wudu, and then you go out and you put your shoes on and you break it, but you wipe over your shoes, then you go to the masjid. But most of the time when you go to the masjid, you take your shoes off, out of even though you can pray in your shoes, you take it off out of respect and the carpet and everything. But if you take your shoes off, you have to wipe over your socks again, or you have to make wudu again. You understand what I mean?
Yeah. The Sheikh said this.
Yeah, it said that if you make wudu and you wipe over your shoes, then you have to pray with the shoes on. If you take your shoes off, then what do you have to do? You have to wipe over your socks again, or do you have to make wudu again because you took your shoes off now?
Okay, we'll ask the Sheikh. شيخنا فممكن توضيح في مسألة المس على النعلين. فإذا إذا توضأ الشخص وضوءا كاملا ثم لبس النعلين ثم ذهب إلى المسجد وخلع النعلين، ماذا عليه أن يفعل؟
عليه أن يلبسهما ويصلي فيهما أو يعيد الوضوء ويمسح على الجوربين. أما أن يمسح في ذلك الوقت على الجوربين هذا لا يصح، لأن الفاصل طويل، ومن شرط صحة الوضوء الموالاة، يعني لا ينتظر حتى يجف مثلا عضو مثل اليد ثم يمسح رأسه، لا، لابد أن يكون موالاة بينهم وقت قصير. فهو الآن توضأ في مكان الوضوء ولبس ومسح على الحذاء على النعال، ثم أتى المسجد فخلع نعله ويقول الآن أمسح. نقول لا، ما ينفع الآن تمسح، الآن تعيد الوضوء من جديد وتمسح على الجوربين.
Yeah, so if you go to the masjid and you've worn your shoes and then you take your shoes off in the masjid and you need to make wudu again, you've got to make it completely. You have to make it completely. You can't make the mas. You make it completely and then you can put your socks on and then you can do the mas after that. You can wipe over after that. But as has been described, you've got to do your wudu again.
بقي سؤال للسائلة، وهي سؤال المرأة: هل إذا كانت تصلي وحدها في مكان لا يرى في أحد من الرجال الأجانب، هل يلزم أن يعني تصلي في كامل جلبابها حتى تستر القدمين، أم أنه يجوز لها التخفف؟ نقول لا، ستر جميع البدن هذا في حضرة الرجال الأجانب وفي غيرهم. أما في حضرة الرجال الأجانب فيزيد أمرا آخر، يعني ستر كامل البدن هو للصلاة، هو للصلاة وليس لنظر الناس، هو للصلاة نفسها. هذا من متطلبات الصلاة، لقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم: لا يقبل الله من حائض صلاة، لا يقبل الله صلاة من حائض إلا بخمار. من حائض يعني امرأة بلغت سن الحيض، إلا بخمار، والخمار هو ما غطى جميع البدن من رأسها إلى قدميها إلا الوجه والكفين. هذا لا يلزم تغطيتهم إذا لم يكن هناك رجال أجانب. أما إذا كان هناك رجال أجانب فبالإضافة إلى تغطية الجسد من الرأس إلى القدمين يلزمها تغطية الوجه. نعم.
So as for the question that the sister asked, does she have to wear a complete jilbab or complete covering? Then the answer to this is if she's praying at home by herself and away from the eyes of non-mahram males or of non-permissible males, then what is said regards to this is that the prayer, during the prayer, the woman must be covered, and this is due to the prayer. And this is due to the statement of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, that indeed Allah doesn't accept the prayer of a mature woman except if she wears the khimar. And the khimar is the garment that covers her from her head to her feet. So it covers all of that. However, if she is by herself or not in the presence of men, she can pray in the khimar, so covering herself, except for the face and the hands. However, if there are males present, then she must also cover these two areas.
لعلنا نقف هنا لأن الوقت ما شاء الله مضى.
نعم.
نسأل الله عز وجل أن يوفقنا وإياكم لما يحب ويرضى، وأن يبارك في جهودكم جميعا، الأخ عبد الحكيم والأخ عقيل وأيضا المترجم توم. أسأل الله عز وجل أن يوفقنا وإياكم جميعا لما فيه رضاه، وأن يجعلنا وإياكم من أهل التوحيد والإخلاص. والله أعلم، وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه.
Jazakumullah khair wa baraka fikum. So this is where we will stop tonight's lecture and the questions and answers. And I ask Allah the Most High to make to give success to everyone, to Islam for Deaf, to Abdul Hakim, to Tom, and to myself. And I ask Allah to make us from the people of sincerity and the people of Tawheed. And may Allah send and shower his peace and blessings and salutations upon our Prophet Muhammad and upon his family and companions. And from my part, I would like to thank our esteemed Sheikh Muhammad al-Maliki, because it's very late over there and he's had a busy day, and week by week he helps us and he gives us his time. فأسأل الله عز وجل أن يثيب شيخنا أحسن الجواب وأحسن الخير لجهوده وتعبه يعني في جهوده في الدعوة إلى الله. And I also ask Allah to aid our brother Abdul Hakim and to also guide myself and guide our interpreter Tom. And to the listeners, please don't forget to support us with your likes, with your subscriptions, and with anything that you can help us with. Our brother Abdul Hakim has dropped off, so we will leave and we will end tonight's sitting there. Jazakumullah khair wa baraka feekum. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thanks, Tom.